More shakeup at Toyota. Kyle Busch Motorsports completely overhauls their driver lineup for next year, and the latest open-wheel driver to try his hand at NASCAR is... How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric, and welcome to Out of the Groove. I don't think any manufacturer this offseason has seen quite the shakeup Toyota has. Yesterday, Kyle Busch Motorsports announced their second full-time driver next year, meaning that both of their full-time slots will be filled by completely new faces from a year ago. We already know the crew chief lineup is completely shuffled up. 2 of the 3 KBM crew chiefs from last year will not be with Toyota in 2021. We're going to talk all about their latest announcement, and we're going to talk about what it means for Toyota racing development, but I want to discuss a surprising story from yesterday. This rumor was being floated around about a week ago. We briefly talked about on the show when discussing NASCAR's silly season, where it stands now and where it may be going here over the final few weeks of the offseason. Well, now, one of the surprising names we discussed a week ago has actually reportedly found a home. Racer.com reported yesterday that IndyCar Series driver Santino Ferrucci is expected to make 20 starts for Our Motorsports in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this next season. This will make Ferrucci the latest open-wheel driver to try his hand at NASCAR. This is, of course, the same team that Brett Moffitt is expected to race full-time for next year. Moffitt will be in the O2 car. Not sure what Ferrucci's number may end up being. Moffitt has already said he's running for points in the truck series, but this is about Santino Ferrucci. This is a surprise. I mean, we knew it was a rumor about a week ago, but before the rumors started to float around, this was a complete shock. And honestly, it still is. Of course, the rumors about a week ago was that Santino Ferrucci and his people were putting feelers out there to see if any Xfinity or Cup Series rides may be available to him. Apparently, there was a spot for him. Now, a little background on Santino Ferrucci. I had to do my own research because I don't follow IndyCar nearly as closely as I follow NASCAR. But Santino Ferrucci is only 22 years old. He's actually a little younger than I thought. I thought he was at least in his mid-20s by now because he's had a very eventful career already to this point. It feels like he's been around longer than that, but he's only 22 years old. He's been racing in the NTT IndyCar Series full-time the last 2 seasons. His results have not been super remarkable, but consistently his best runs tend to come at ovals. In 2019, he finished a season best 4th at Texas, Pocono, and Gateway, all oval track. Oh, Pocono's a trial. All oval tracks. He ran well at Indianapolis this last year, so his decent success at ovals is likely what motivated him to consider NASCAR as a possibility. Now, Santino Ferrucci, for those who are familiar with him, he is no stranger to controversy. Before he raced in IndyCar, Santino Ferrucci was actually a Haas F1 development driver for a short period of time. That's right, he was in the Formula 1 pipeline. In fact, he raced in Formula 2 in 2017, but in 2018, he was handed a 2-race suspension after a messy Silverstone weekend. Among several things, he crashed into his teammate intentionally after the checkered flag. He refused to appear before officials after they summoned him to the F1 hauler, F2 hauler. I don't know the lingo in Formula 2. The race stewards, I think. Anyway, he didn't appear before the race stewards to face his penalty. And then afterwards, he was spotted driving through the garage area with one hand while texting with the other hand. Yeah, texting and driving when there are people around, supposedly, that is heavily frowned upon. These incidents primarily, as well as perhaps some other things behind the scenes, virtually ended Santino Ferrucci's Formula 1 career. He found a home back in the United States racing IndyCar last year, but now he's looking for something. He's looking for greener pastures, and he thinks NASCAR could be a home for him. After reading some of the past incidents he's been a part of, I can't say I'm thrilled that Santino Ferrucci's jumping into NASCAR. I mean, he is a polarizing figure. He is interesting. You don't know what he may say or do next, so I don't know. The Xfinity Series last year was already so volatile. So many people were angry at each other last year. Throw Santino Ferrucci into the mix. We're already throwing AJ Allmendinger in full-time, who's an extremely emotional, passionate guy. The Xfinity Series is going to be off the rails next year, I feel like. So maybe this is going to contribute to the Xfinity Series being must-see TV, but I really don't know what to think. Again, Santino Ferrucci's still really young. He's younger than I am, so I understand people can change, people make mistakes, people hopefully mature and develop and grow, but that is something to pay attention to look out for. Many fans may not warm up to Santino Ferrucci right away, but he is unpredictable. And when it comes to predicting how he may run next year, I think the fact that he's run well on ovals in IndyCar, that might help him make this transition, but with no practice, no qualifying next year, I don't really think we're going to see much out of Ferrucci, especially driving for Our Motorsports, which isn't a super competitive car. I honestly still think road courses are likely his best bet to make some noise. The raw speed you have in your car isn't quite as important at most road courses, and Ferrucci, while not having his best runs always on road courses, he does have a lot of experience running road courses, albeit an open wheel, but I'm sure some of that will carry over into the NASCAR Xfinity Series next year. So I'd look out for him to make the most noise on road courses and maybe super speedways. You just never know. But I am curious to see what this leads to. Again, Santino Ferrucci is only 22 years old and he's been around. He has many years of racing ahead of him. So if he can take this relatively small NASCAR opportunity and slowly but surely work his way up into something bigger and better and make all the right moves between now and then, I don't know, Santino Ferrucci could be in the sport for a long, long time. You never know, but it was worth noting because I was surprised in the last week to hear Santino Ferrucci's name come up in regards to NASCAR. We'll see what he does next year. My expectations are pretty low, but maybe he'll surprise some people. Now, I want to talk about Kyle Busch Motorsports, and I want to talk about Toyota because Toyota has made so many changes this year. Just this offseason alone, they're adding a new team in the Cup Series with 2311 Racing. That's a new driver as well, Bubba Wallace. At Joe Gibbs Racing, of course, they swapped out Erik Jones with Christopher Bell. If we look at the Xfinity Series, they're bringing Daniel Hemrick in full-time, out with Riley Herbst. But the most notable changes have happened within their Truck Series program. We already know John Hunter Nemechek, Cup Series rookie from this last year, is moving back into trucks. He will drive the number 4 truck next year. They've lost both Mike Hillman Jr., who was the crew chief on the 4 truck last year, and Rudy Fugle, who's the crew chief of the 18 last year, to rival organizations. Hillman's going to DGR Crossley. He'll be Haley Deegan's crew chief. Rudy Fugle, of course, is heading to Hendrick. He will be William Byron's crew chief on the Cup side of things. Well, the changes just keep on coming. Yesterday, Kyle Busch Motorsports announced that Chandler Smith will take over the number 18 truck full-time, replacing Christian Eckes. Bob Pockris reports that Safelite Auto Glass will remain as a primary sponsor for 15 of the 22 races. Christian Eckes released a statement about his departure from the team. I wish we could have ended our journey stronger, but unfortunately 2020 was a challenging year for all parties. These challenges forged relationships and memories that I will never forget and made me a better racer and person in the process. However, I will not be returning to KBM in 2021. There are no hard feelings, and my respect for the organization will never falter. I'm ready to open up the next chapter and excited to see what the future holds. Another major move being made by Toyota. We'll talk about what this means for Christian Eckes in just a moment, but I want to focus on Chandler Smith, the newest KBM Truck Series driver. Chandler Smith is young. He's only 18 years old. You probably recognize his name because he has run some truck races for KBM the last couple years. He's run a part-time schedule, 16 combined races. He's finished in the top 5 8 times. He has not yet found victory lane in the Truck Series. He'll be looking to do that next season. His ARCA stats are phenomenal as well. In 33 combined starts, he's never run a full-time ARCA season. He still has 9 total wins. Chandler Smith is a Toyota prospect. He's been in the KBM Super Late Model program for a couple of years. We talked about the Snowball Derby yesterday. He finished 6th in last year's event, and this year Smith actually finished 4th in the Snowball Derby. Chandler Smith is really good. I expect him to contend for wins next year. This is a guy I could see, like a Christopher Bell or an Erik Jones, being someone who stays in the Toyota system for years to come. Guys like Jones, Bell, won in trucks, moved up to Xfinity, won in Xfinity, and then eventually made it to the Cup Series. I see a very similar progression in Chandler Smith's future, assuming things go as expected. It's important to note that Kyle Busch Motorsports is not the powerhouse organization it was a few years ago when Christopher Bell was winning 7 races, Erik Jones was winning like 5 races a year. And that's because of the new Ilmor spec engines that are run in the Truck Series. Every single truck the last couple seasons races the exact same engine, and the engine is a large component of what makes fast teams fast and slow teams slow. So with everyone running equal engines, that's why the Truck Series has gotten so much more competitive the last few years. That's why they had to expand the number of trucks allowed into the playoffs this last season, because they just had way too many competitive trucks. Too many people were going to miss the playoffs. The engine department was one way Kyle Busch Motorsports had some of the fastest trucks years ago. Now that all the engines are equal, the KBM trucks are still really good. They're still one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the series, I would say, but they're not heads and shoulders above everybody else anymore. The Ilmor engines are why you see so many more teams in the Truck Series, so many competitive teams. You see GMS Racing, KBM, Hattori, ThorSport. Nice emerged as a competitive team the last couple of years. Front Row has a team now. DGR Crossley has teams now. Bill McNally Racing has a team now. I'm going to forget somebody, but there's a lot of competitive Truck Series teams now, and a lot of that has to do with the new spec motors that have been run the last several years, and that's why Kyle Busch Motorsports, while they're still really good and competitive and expect to win races, they should not have the same expectations put on them now as were on them 4 or 5 years ago when Erik Jones, Christopher Bell, and everyone else was dominating week in, week out. The KBM trucks are not as good as they were 5 years ago. That is obvious. But that being said, I still have high expectations for Chandler Smith next year. I expect him to win races. And yes, I said races, plural. I'm not expecting an 18-year-old to rattle off 6 wins next year, anything like that, but a couple of wins, a playoff berth, hopefully a deep run in the playoffs. I think that should be the goal for Chandler Smith. Again, he is a Toyota prospect. They believe in him, and I think they have big plans for his future. It all starts next year in trucks full time. Good luck to Chandler Smith. Now, the guy he's replacing, Christian Eckes, is also in many ways a Toyota prospect, and I can't help but say this feels like Eckes was given a raw deal. Eckes did not run poorly last season. He didn't find victory lane, but as a rookie in the Truck Series, he ended up with 11 top 5s and 18 top 10s. He had 3 runner-up finishes. He was the only KBM truck to qualify for the Truck Series playoffs, and if not for that ridiculous incident with Ben Rhodes late in the Texas race, I'd have to go back and look at points, but Eckes was in contention for a championship 4 spot. Christian Eckes is an ARCA Menards Series champion. He won it in 2019, winning 4 races that year for Venturini Motorsports. Eckes has been in the Toyota system since 2016, and actually that year he, speaking of the Snowball Derby, won the Snowball Derby. He's the second youngest winner of the race in race history, behind only Chase Elliott. In that race, he beat guys like John Hunter Nemechek, Noah Gragson, Zane Smith, Ty Majeski. Actually, Chandler Smith was in that race as a 14-year-old, I believe, and actually Chandler Smith finished 5th that year. Wow, Chandler Smith is good. That's no knock against Christian Eckes, but wow, I forgot. Yeah, Chandler Smith, he's going to be good next year, I think. I'm not saying KBM made the wrong decision. Christian Eckes is 20 years old. Smith is 18, so you often lean towards the younger guy, especially when they show this much promise and potential. And Eckes going winless this year probably didn't help his efforts too much. I'm not saying KBM made the wrong move, but this is similar to the situation they were faced with in the Cup Series this year between Christopher Bell and Eric Jones. I feel like no matter what decision they made on the Cup Series side of things, there were pros and cons. I feel the same way about this Truck Series decision. I like Chandler Smith a lot, but I also like Christian Eckes a lot, and it's a shame to see him lose this opportunity after just 1 full-time season. So now the question is, where does Christian Eckes go next? What's available to him? Nice Motorsports has already announced 3 of their full-time drivers. Thorsport, I believe, is expected to bring back the same lineup next year. Obviously, KBM's not an option. GMS, I think their lineup's pretty well set as well. Maybe a team like Front Row, he could end up in the 38 truck. I don't know if Todd Gilliland is coming back. Maybe he lands for some other team we haven't thought of, but yeah, it's a difficult spot for the recent ARCA Menards Series champion to find himself in. This looks a whole lot like another typical Toyota situation where they have too many talented drivers and not enough seats to put them in. What was it Tony Stewart said about Toyota a few months ago? They ruin careers. I don't know if I'd go that far in this case. They also gave Christian Eckes a really good shot for a few years, but yeah, they've certainly left him sort of stranded out here in the middle of nowhere without a paddle or anything, so not really sure what happens next to Christian Eckes, but I hope he lands somewhere competitive next year for the Truck Series season. Maybe he goes to Xfinity. I don't know. There may be an Xfinity option out there. Maybe he can be a 3rd Our Motorsports car, be teammates with Santino and Brett Moffitt. That could happen. No, it probably won't. But we'll see what happens to Christian Eckes. I hope he lands somewhere because he is a talented young driver. He deserves another decent opportunity, but I am also excited about what's going to happen with Chandler Smith next year. I think he's going to win races, and I think he's going to be a star in the sport years down the line. I know that's maybe a bold prediction to make right now, but I'm going with it. He's been working with the right people and things are timing out now. He's 18 years old. Think about it. He'll realistically go Cup Series racing if things go well, in like maybe 4 years. I don't think anytime sooner than that. In 4 years, Martin Truex Jr. is going to be getting kind of old. In 4 years, Denny Hamlin's going to be getting kind of old. Heck, in 4 years, even Kyle Busch is going to be getting kind of old. He'll be 40, I think, by then. I'm just saying, spots in the Cup Series may start to open up sooner than we realize, especially if 2311 Racing actually turns into a legit operation and expands the way they are teasing that they will. So this is maybe the best the Toyota system has looked in a long time. So very optimistic, very excited for Chandler Smith. Let's see what happens next year. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think of all the news today. What do you expect from Santino Ferrucci next year? What do you expect from Chandler Smith next year? Let me know down in the comments below. That's all I've got for today's episode. Be sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel. We talk NASCAR daily on this channel, even during the off season. The news just never seems to stop. I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about this week. Thank you as always to my amazing Patreon supporters as well. I really appreciate the support. I know I say it every video, but it really does mean the world to me. So thank you all a ton. I will see you all in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks for watching.